So we have two pretty big additions to this latest release, 1074. So we added a new instance report, which is performance history. And then we also added a new database level report, which is file size over time, where you can monitor file growth, backup growths, all that file stuff. And then if we want to pull up the stream, we can start showing that off. Alrighty, so we'll start with performance history. This is just a instance report. So we'll jump straight into that. And this has a lot of good charts that are added now. So this is all historic monitoring. So you will need to have your historic monitoring enabled on your database to be able to access this instance report. But each of these charts shows a ton of helpful information over time where you can change the time frame and the granularity to look at it. But all these charts have tons of helpful information for looking at performance monitoring. Mm-hmm. And then do we want to kind of dive into each one of these or what they all do?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Alrighty. And then George, feel free to jump in at any point if you want to add to an explanation. So top one, batch requests. This is just how SQL batches up queries and sends them all off to do all of them at once. You should be looking for a pretty average batch request. Anything like this, where you're getting a bunch of batch requests, you're looking for any abnormalities in this chart. So I had a bunch of queries running at the same time. So I had a bunch going off here. Cache hit ratio, that's going to be where it's pulling out of memory. So you want to make sure that you're pulling most of it out of the cache and not relying on other resources. Again, this is just another one we should be monitoring and making sure that it's pretty average across all the time. Memory grants pending. This is when two or more things are trying to take up too much memory resources. And if you have any of these, this might indicate for resource allocation. So definitely keep an eye on this one. Deadlocks. If you have deadlocks, it definitely needs investigating at that point. So this is one that just, if you see something, investigate it on that. Page lookups, reads, and writes are all pretty explanatory. It just depends on your server workload, how much you're putting in, how much you're pulling out of it. So these should all be pretty average. If you're putting in more, your reads and lookups might be a little bit, your reads and writes might be a little higher at certain points. Compilations and recompilations. So SQL Server compiles all its requests. This is another one where just checking for averages is pretty good. You want to make sure that it's not getting too out of hand. But if your compilations look fine, but your recompilations start shooting up, that's when you need to start investigating more for that kind of stuff. And then finally, we have target server memory and total server memory. This is, again, another resource allocation chart. These should both be pretty average in a production database, or they should both equal out to each other. If your total server memory is getting any large spikes like I had here, you need to look into your resource allocation and make sure that it's all configured properly. And then transactions is just how many transactions are going through a second. And so one other thing that we added here, this is kind of just a cool feature that we're going to start implementing everywhere else, but you have the ability to collapse charts that you might not want to monitor all the time. And this will stay like that between sessions. So you can collapse charts, move them up and down, depending on what you want to monitor more frequently or what you want to see at the top when you open it. So anytime you collapse or move a chart, it will stay in that spot once you leave.
Nice. That's convenient.
And then George added, we'll pull up the file size over time report.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the one Mitch that instance report, but it's it's a per database file report, so you can see how each database is growing over time. At the top, you can see there's also the time frame and granularity sliders. So you can look at like last week, you can look at last month, you can look all time, year, and just kind of see how you're growing, and maybe like you can use that to help predict where your databases might grow in the future and like what kind of storage demands you might have, just by looking at the curve. We're currently, I guess, talking about we use the same bar chart we did in the other ones, but we're currently also working on a line chart version of it. Oh, Mitch has it.
Pull that one up real quick.
And to kind of help, it helps visualize the data a little bit better than the bar charts do.
Yeah, so this is just one of the sneak peeks that we're doing for, you'll probably see this on the next release.
Yeah, and we might add some more customization and use that chart elsewhere in database health as it makes sense. But we also might have a slider or radio button to help to choose between them depending on, because different people see like different charts better. It's you can have a lot of say on how you see your data.
Yep. Let's see here. So one of the other features that we added in this last release, one of the big overhauls we did in our previous release was dark mode. So our focus for this last one was actually colorblind mode, which should make a lot of the charts a little bit more friendly to individuals that do suffer from any type of colorblindness. So we went through, did a little research on the best way to implement this, and this is currently what we've landed on. Anybody that has any recommendations or any slight color tweaks that can be made, we're definitely open to listening to those in the future.
Yeah, and feel free to email me, Shannon at stedmansolutions.com, and I will happily pass along the info.
Yeah, so just anything that makes our program a little bit more accessible to anybody.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then one last little feature that we threw in there. So we've had the blocking and active queries charts, the real-time charts added to the server overviews, but we have now also added each of those to the real-time overview by databases. So if you're trying to find some more information about each database that you're looking at, you can definitely look at the real-time blocking and active queries for each of those databases.
Nice. All right.